You know, it really does seem that there are a lot of people out there that are very angry with Star Wars, that they do not like what Disney has done with the franchise and they just want to see it get destroyed like Alderaan from the first Death Star in A New Hope. They want to see the fandom menace at full operational capacity and to take out the Disney Star Wars slash Lucasfilm planet. That's what they want to see. And I don't get that, to be honest with you. I've tried to see it from their perspective. I think after a couple of years, this is just where things are. They're never going to really change. So what you can hope for is that they learn from their mistakes. What I find to be really fascinating, though, is the movie is 2 months away from coming out as of today. And what we're seeing now is this litany of articles and videos of coming out about speculation about what's going on with the reshoots, because this is what they're saying here. Rumor: Disney remaking almost a whole movie of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, coming from bounding into comics. And the thing with that is again, it's a rumor. But these kind of rumors, especially if you look at a lot of the videos that are talking about them, are treating them as fact. They're presenting them as fact. They might go, well, you know, it's a rumor, but they're not giving it the speculation that it deserves. They're not questioning it in the right way. What they're trying to do is make it out to be this is real, and it all is because Doomcock here talked about it. Okay? He talked about Brie Larson and Captain Marvel a few weeks ago, and none of that really seemed to make a lot of sense. But rumor, speculation. Anyway, I'm going to pull up here some quotes of his. So let's see. This is what they say. They say, this is coming from Doomcock. I have Star Wars info. They are still shooting. They were having to remake almost the whole movie as they tested the movie, and it was a complete pile of flopping shit. All right. Well, you know, what's really funny about those tests are a lot of it's BS. They will test different cuts of the movie for different audiences. So you have to be very wary of what source you're going to be pulling from in regards to what the test screenings say. Hollywood does this. In fact, David F. Sandberg, who directed Shazam, just recently put out a video breaking down the entirety of how test screenings work and saying that when you are reading an article or watching a YouTube video that talk about test screenings and them being good or bad, take it with a grain of salt because the studio tests multiple edits before putting it out there. They do want to make sure that they have the best product on their hand before going to market. I mean, you wouldn't expect a novelist to write, to release their first draft of a novel without ever checking it, without revising it, editing it, going back and changing things, finding what works, what doesn't. Movies are the exact same way. But for some reason, when it comes to the commentary side of things, any kind of speculation on this or any kind of talking about the editing process or the fixing of the process of it is funny because it never is given that same level of credibility. It's never given that same level of respect of an artist is fine-tuning their art before releasing it into the world. They want it almost done magically perfectly the first time, which is just really interesting to me that that particular side of the creative process just gets hucked out the window because, well, it doesn't sound sexy. And that's actually what it boils down to. Now, Doomcock does add here, this is not some casual 2-week reshoot. This is almost a 75% remake. They shot the thing so there were 6 possible main edits, and even there was no way to put it together that it would not have flopped. Okay. They cut together 6 potential endings to the movie. They cut together 6 potential test screenings for the movie, what could be shown and what works and what doesn't. Compare, contrast, compare, contrast, compare, contrast. Again, the creative process does this. These studios do this all the time. This is, again, nothing that is new. There's nothing unique about this particular system. We know reshoots happen. We know test screenings happen. It's not an elusive unicorn in the forest or the great white buffalo. It's not something that is just a figment of your imagination that you so desperately want to find. But I do think that when it comes to trying to utterly not present arguments or rumors in the proper context or framing, that is attempting to tank something. It is attempting to twist the narrative in order to suit your better interest, which would be views, clicks, and, well, monetization. I'm just going to say that's exactly what it is. That's why stuff like this gets done. But let's go on here. Now, he continues. Jar Jar Abrams said this film will not please everyone. Disney flipped out and said this film has to please everyone and redo it until it does. If they cannot get it to perform in tests, this is the end of that particular reboot. Again, tests. As I just pointed out, David F. Sandberg, great video on it. I'm going to link to below in the video description. You guys should go and watch it to see how these test screenings work. David F. Sandberg is a great person to go to as a resource for these things, because he started off as a small independent filmmaker making lights out 3-minute short film, which spawned a feature film. He went on to go and do Annabelle Creation, and then was hired by DC to do Shazam, which was very well received, and a lot of people really liked it. In fact, a lot of Doomcock's audience and people who are in the fandom menace really liked Shazam. So wouldn't you want to go to that particular person as a source for this information? Wouldn't you want to go to that person and ask them precisely how they feel or what they know about reshoots and how it impacts the filmmaking process? I did. So I did. I asked him yesterday, hey, Pony Smasher, can you please do an in-depth video explaining reshoots? Your video on test screenings was amazing and really informative. As a movie pundit, it'd be very helpful to have this information out there. Please and thank you. And you know what? I forgot that I'd posted that yesterday, and last night, lo and behold, I ended up getting a full-on response from David F. Sandberg. He says, I don't think there's enough to say about it in general way. Reshoots are just, if we have X, then the movie will be better. You go and shoot X. You can run into issues like actor and location availability and have to come up with creative ways around that, but that's specific to projects, and I already talk about things like that in commentaries and behind the scenes videos. I guess what most people associate reshoots with is drama, like director and studio realizing they don't have the same idea of what a movie is, which can be fun gossip, but nothing that I have anything to say about. So right there, he basically just kind of lays it out. Like, he's not going to talk about it, but he just says it's fun gossip, which is really what this whole situation is. People that are complaining about the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker reshoots are just gossiping. That's what it boils down to, right? You have a person here who works in the studio system, is gearing up to make Shazam 2, and is wanting to do another low-budget horror film in the meantime if he possibly can. This is a source that is active, engaged in the industry, in the big budget tentpole industry, who is, I'm going to say, probably a better source of things than, let's say, Doomcock. Now, it's not to say you can't have fun discussing these issues. By all means, have fun discussing the issues. But you have to be wary of how people frame the argument. Are they coming at it from, this is a normal, everyday aspect of the filmmaking process? Or is this a dumpster fire? It needs to be shot and put out of its misery, so on and so forth. And when it's framed in the latter, you can basically see the motivation, especially when the motivation has been for the near past 2 years to outright attack Disney Star Wars and frame it in the worst possible way. So I ask you, and I'm asking you right now who's watching, is that a fair representation of the process of trying to tell a story? If you write something and you shoot something, it's not going to end up the same way in the editing bay. There's an old, not even an old, just a general saying that goes on in filmmaking. There's a movie you write, there's the movie you shoot, and then there's the movie that you edit. The movie that you write can be perfect in your mind. You take it to set, you start doing it all, you realize a couple things aren't working, so you rewrite this, you rewrite that, you change that line, you change that person, you start to reconstruct the scene in order to make it work. Then you get back to the editing bay, you put it all together, you go, that didn't quite flow the way I felt that it would when we were shooting it, because you can't see the app, you can't really see it at that point in time. And then you go back and you fix things. That's the process. That's how it works. That's Hollywood in a nutshell. It's very simple. And it's Hollywood in a nutshell because it's filmmaking in a nutshell. Like I pointed out earlier, do you want a novelist releasing the first draft of their book online and charging you full price without it going through any kind of revisionary process? Of course not. Why would you expect Star Wars or any property to do the same thing? Marvel movies have reshoots. We don't ever hear about that in the negative. We never hear about that in the negative. We never hear any of these things in the negative unless it has to do with something like Star Wars coming from a certain group of people on YouTube that have found a way to profit off of trying to destroy something that they claim to love. So at the end of the day, I'm so fed up with them that this stuff permeates and no one ever corrects it for what it is, which is just gossip. Anyway, your thoughts, your opinions, let me hear them. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? What do you think about this? These are things I want to know. And I think it's going to be very lively in the conversation, and that's perfectly fine. That's great. That's why it's here. So I will talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.